Hello everyone and welcome to part 5 of our Flappy Bird tutorial. In this last part we will be creating a game start condition. So instead of immediately starting the game, starting to flap like this, we will create a tap to start button to start the game. So let's go to player interface and create a function called virtual void set gravity scale, and this will allow us to set our gravity scale to our desired one because the default one will be 0. Okay, and virtual void activate input equals 0. Okay, let's go to our Flappy Bird character and implement these functions. Override. Great. Okay, and set gravity scale also. Okay, awesome. Now let's change the default scale to default gravity scale to 0. So here, get character moving gravity scale, change it to 0. Great. Let's compile. Let's try if we fall now or not. We shouldn't fall because the gravity scale is 0 now. And you can see we don't fall now. Great. Nice. Next. Let's copy this here. Set gravity scale equal new scale. Okay. Now, let's go to our gameplay widget and create a button to start. So view property meta equal bind widget. View button. Let's call it start game button. In our CPP, let's create a function to start the game. Let's make it in private. Okay, now in the construct, we want to bind the start button. So start game button on clicked. No, not on pressed, on clicked, sorry. Dot add dynamic. Okay. Start game. Great. Let's compile. And let's go to our widget. Set the button. Let's make it fill the screen. And let's change the tint to 0. Okay, let's call it start game button. Compile. So when we start the game, first we want game mode interface. We want to start game button to unbind all. remove unclicked dot remove all. Okay, and we need to get the player interface, so let's go and do that. So let's go to our game mode interface and create a virtual iPlayer interface equals 0, and don't forget to forward declare iPlayer interface. Now in our game mode header we want to create player interface variable. First let's override this function, sorry. So iPlayer interface, player interface, override, return player interface. Um, let's call the function actually, let's forward declare the class. iPlayer interface, player interface. Oh, let's actually call the function. Let's change the name of the function. Where is it? In here, yeah. Let's name it get player interface. Okay, now it should work. Yeah, great. And in here, when we get the player character, when we get the Flappy Bird, we want to get the interface. We want to cast to the interface using the Flappy Bird character as object. So player interface equal cast iPlayer interface, and the character as object is Flappy Bird character. Okay, let's go back to our widget. Where is it? Here. And if game mode interface get player interface. Okay, so player interface equal this get mode game mode interface get player interface. I forgot to include oh, the pointer. We forgot the pointer, sorry. Okay, great. So player interface flap, because when we start the game it will flap whenever we click on the button and we start the game, it will flap first time. That's how Flappy Bird works normally. Next, we want to bind the button, start game button, to always flap whenever we tap on it. That's why we removed the binding before. So on press to add dynamic player interface, and player interface flap. So now whenever we press on the screen, we will flap. Now virtual void start game in our game mode interface. This will be responsible for starting the game, and we will call it here. So inside here at the if game mode interface, start game. In our game mode, let's override the start game function. So first, to start the game, we want uh, the pipes to start moving. So for pipe actor, inside the pipe obstacles, a pipe obstacle equal cast to pipe obstacle. The object is pipe actor. If we cast it successfully, we want to activate the movement component. So activate, we don't have it yet, we need to create it, but let's write it now. So activate movement component. No, not deactivate, activate. Okay, let's go create it now. Pipe obstacle header. Here in the public, activate movement component. And let's copy this one from deactivate. Where is it? Let's set this to false. Auto activate to false. And where is it? Copy this here. And instead of deactivate, just change it to activate. Great. Awesome. Now we also need to if player interface, we need to player interface set gravity scale 3.0. So this will set the gravity to 3. Actually, let's create a variable for it to edit it from the editor if you want. So edit defaults only category equal parameters. Float gravity scale equals 3. Great. I think this should be it. Let's go and compile. And if we start, let's launch the editor again. To force compile the C++ code. Now if you start, yeah, it's not moving at all. Great. Now if we are pressing but nothing is happening, the reason for that the reason was because void start game needs to be a U function because you are binding it to a button. So let's try it now. And if you click, yeah, you see the pipes are moving now, and we are flapping only once, but it's not binding here. It's not binding again. Oh, I think the flap doesn't have a U function. Yeah, it doesn't have U function also. Same error. Okay, now it should work. Yep, it's working as intended. Now, uh, one thing I want to do for the high score is when we set the high score, when we pass our high score, I want, by the way, you can delete this activate input, we don't really need it at all, just delete it. And from the player interface too. Okay, so what I was saying is, uh, when we pass our high score, let's say my high score is 3 and I pass it, so I get 4, I want the new high score to update also. So in here, when we increment the score, if score is bigger than high score, let's take copy paste this, set high score score. So this, when we pass 3 now, the high score will start updating also. It will not be constant 3. So 3, 4, you see it's updating now. I want to change the visibility of these two to not hit testable. So when we tap on them, it doesn't prevent us from tapping. And I also want to change the default value for this to tap to start. Okay, let's make justification to center and take this to another line. Okay, and maybe size 150 or 120. 120 is good. Next, let's give it an animation. So U property transient for animations, add meta equal bind widget anim. I think it's U widget animation. U widget animation, yeah. Let's call it sale, no, start text animation. Okay, now in our game native construct, first let's compile. And let's create the animation. So let's call it same name. Let's add score text and add transform. Where is it? Transform. And let's change its timing to its duration to 0.5 seconds maybe, or yeah, 0.5 seconds. and the scale at 0 is 1, but at 0.5 it's gonna be 1.2 on the x and 1.2 on the y. Okay, so now the game will, or the animation will scale to 1 and 1.2 forward and backward. Let's go back in the native construct. If start text animation, play animation, and the animation to play is start text animation, start time 0, number loops to play is 0, so it loops endlessly, and the play mode is ping pong, which means forward and backwards, so scale up, scale down, and playback speed 1, and this is false, restore is false. Great. Now when we die, when you start the game, sorry, we need to stop the animation, so stop animation, start text animation, and we also, let's compile first. Let's test it out. Nice, it's working, the animation. So if you start the game, the animation should stop, but first we need to update the score text. The only update this text to show us the score again. So 0. Let's try it now. If we start, it's not working. That's because you are setting it maybe after. Well, let's try to set it before. Nope, that's not it. Oh, we are setting the high score. We need to set the score text, not the high score text. Sorry. So it should work now. Yeah, it's working nice. Great, but it's very small. We need to make it bigger a little. So maybe after we stop the animation and update the text, we need to change the size of it. So let's go declare a slate font info is equal to score get font info equal size dot size, sorry, equal score font size, which will be a variable. So we declared a variable, so we can tweak the default value from within the editor. Okay, and we need to set the text size, set font info. Right. Now, if we start, yeah, it's changing. Nice, it's scaling up. And here we can change the scale. Let's make it to 0 to check. Yeah, it's gone. Now let's delete this, we don't need it, and this one here, and this one here. Now we need to add a background um, for our game instead of this blank. Okay, so let's go and import the background. I will leave a link in the description for it. Let's go to content textures and import the background. Great, now it's imported. Let's add a plane to our scene. So go to shapes, plane. Let's rotate it. And we scale it up a little, maybe 50 by, I don't know, 50 or 30. We will see how it goes. But now let's make the material for it. Let's go to content, materials, material. Let's call it background underscore m. Let's open it. Change the opaque to shading model to unlit, and we want a parameter texture parameter. So texture. Um, let's. I don't think that's the one. Let me check 1 second. Yeah, that's not the one. It's not this one. So let's search for the texture sample. Yeah, that's the one. Let's convert it to parameter. Great, and call it image. So connect it to multiply. Then scale a parameter for emissive. Connect it to B, and let's set its value to 0.2 and connect it to emissive. Now we need to set the background to our image. So BG. Great. Our material is ready. Let's set it here. I think it's the other way. Yeah, it's the other way around. So let's rotate it. 0, 90. Okay. Now let's go here and create a panel connected to UV. And for the coordinate, let's get texture coordinates and connect it to coordinate. Then for the speed, we want a parameter to control the speed. So vector parameter. Let's call it speed. Okay, great. Let's close this, create a material instance and set it to this one and open the material instance. Let's change the speed and the emissive if you want, but I don't want to. So let's change the speed to 0.01 or 0.1. Yeah, it's very fast. We need to slow it down a little. So maybe 0.01. Yeah, it's much better like this. Now let's copy this and set it here next to it so it fills our ground. Let's close all of this and let's start. It needs to be a little bit down and maybe change the scale 40. Yeah, okay, let's try now. Yeah, it's so good. It looks good now. Okay, great. Mm, Next we want a I want to make a material for the outline. So let's go to materials, create a new material. So the material will make these meshes have a outline around them. So let's go to material. Let's call it outline underscore m. And let's change this default to unlit, two-sided make it true, and opaque to masked, change it. So first we want a vector parameter. Let's call it color for the line color. Let's make it black. Then connect it to emissive. Then we want two-sided sign and 1 minus x connected to non-opacity mask. Then for the word position offset, we want a multiply node and connect to it a vertex normal. And for the b of the multiply node, we want a scalar parameter for line thickness. So let's give it 1 or 4, however we find. So now let's go to our mesh. Let's go to our blueprint, Flappy Bird, and search for overlay and set the overlay to this outline material. Okay, and you can see it has a outline around it. Let's do it for all our meshes. So let's go for ground, look for overlay and outline. Great. Now for the pipes, overlay, great. Now it looks good. It looks so much better visually. Great. Now I'm thinking about creating a function that always centers the player in the middle of the screen. Wherever he is, we should always center him to the middle of the screen. Okay, so now if you go take him up or down and you start the game, he will be up or down wherever we put him. So let's make a function based on the player's screen. He will always be centered. And we also want to center the pipe, the first pipe only, to be in the center almost. So we give the player a head start. So let's go to our game mode. And in the begin play, here, so after we get all of the pipes, so let's make if pipe obstacles array is not empty, is empty, sorry, function f vector current location is equal to pipes, pipe obstacles and index 0, the first one, get location dot x, get location only, no dot x, just get location. Now pipe obstacles, obstacles, set the active location, and the active location is the location, the current location on the x and y. However, on the z we want it to be a constant value. Now the value, we need to go to the editor to see what's good. So let's make it maybe 100. No. Yeah, I think 100, if you look at it this way, it's good. 100 is good. Let's go back and set it to 100. Okay. Let's save and compile. Let's try it out. And you see it's always one second, I want to show you the details of it. I don't know why it's not visible. Let's try now. Yeah, so you see it's 100. It's centered in the middle almost, which is good. Now let's go back here and yeah, It's good. It's good for heads up as the first obstacle. Now we want to center the player in the middle, to always start in the middle no matter the viewport, the screen. So after the fPlayer controller, let's get the viewport size.x and viewport size y. Let's create a variable for them. Then player controller get viewport size and store them inside the x and y, inside the x and y variables we created. Then mm, f vector 2d screen middle. Then we get this middle of the screen and store it inside this variable. So screen middle is equal to f vector and the viewport size x divided by 2 and the viewport size y divided by 2 for the middle. Now f vector word location vector word direction player controller then d project screen position to word and the float screen x is the screen middle dot x and the float screen y the screen middle dot y and word location word direction. Now vector current location is equal to Flappy Bird character get actor location. Now we want to set the character location in the middle. So f vector new location is equal to vector current location dot x current location dot y and the z location is word location dot z, of course. And now we set it. New location. Let's compile. Let's say okay, let's say we change the player location to be top bottom and we start just a second and it started in the middle. Okay, now let's set it up and it's in the middle. Yeah, it's in the middle. One thing I want to do very fast also is add a volume blocking volume. and 185. Center it above the player. Okay, let's scale it. Maybe 1000. No, not here. Sorry, on the Y. Not on the Y, on the X. Okay, and take it up. This will prevent the player from going off screen if he keeps flapping up, right? So let's test it. Make it a little bit lower, like this. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, now let's add these back, and this is it. So that's it for this tutorial, guys. We are done with our Flappy Bird game. I hope you learned something, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And see you in the next series. If you have any suggestions for the next series, just let me know, and I will be happy to do it.